Welcome to Nerds in Squares, presented by the Black Party. This is an emergency podcast for all you ladies and schlettlemans out there. We got some news about the new Star Wars lineup and Marvel lineup here. We're going to run through this pretty fast. This is one of the first emergency podcasts we've had to do. It's really more informational. It's not going to be a whole bunch of opinions, though you will hear some. It's more letting you guys know what's going on and giving you a little bit of thoughts on it as well. Yep. First things first, we're going to talk about the Star Wars lineup that's coming up. Rangers of the New Republic is going to be a new series set in the timeline of The Mandalorian. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are coming back to produce and direct the series, or at least take care of the series. Not much else is known about the series, or most series that you will find out. But that's so far that's what we have. That's it.
Mm-hmm. With the New Republic, I mean, I'm kind of interested in it, but at the same time, I don't really know where they're going to go. Obviously, Mando opened up a lot of situations because they introduced a lot of new characters and gave them a lot more airtime than we had anticipated. Mm-hmm. Next up, coming after the Rangers of the New Republic, is the Ahsoka TV show, which is in the timeline of Mando. Got a little snippet, a little tiddly bit of her in Mando, which is fantastic. Your thoughts?
I'm honestly pretty excited. We kind of talked about it in a previous podcast where we basically know the gist of what's going to happen. It's going to have Thrawn in it for sure, or at least talks about it. It's going to have possibly not Kanan, Ezra Miller.
Fingers crossed.
It's going to have him in it. It's going to be an interesting show, to say the least. Don't know where they're going to go with it. Probably not going to be multiple seasons, but Rosario Dawson, I got her name right, she's coming back, obviously, to play Ahsoka. And we don't have a release date on it just yet, but something we may or may not have a release date on is an Andor series. This series is going to be an espionage show taking place before Rogue One. And if you don't know who Andor is, it's a planet. But that's not what this show's about.
This one, for some reason, is about the character Cassian Andor. He and his droid, who was a fan favorite in Rogue One, are going to be doing a little bit of espionage, a little bit of spy tiddly bits going on there. Next up, though, is the one that I think everyone was most hyped for, which is the Obi-Wan. What?
I said we rushed to this one for a reason.
Because this is the bread and butter of this sandwich. So the Obi-Wan show is coming up.
Yes,
it has Ewan McGregor coming back, Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader, and this is happening after Episode 3, in between Episode 3 and Episode 6, which is going to be fantastic.
Probably before Rebels as well. Probably in between there.
Yes. Because if Ewan is coming into it, obviously they're going to go towards more the younger side of Obi-Wan. Hayden obviously looks older than he did in Episode 3, but they're still going to be able to have that little bit of time added onto the characters, but not to the point where you see old Ben and Vader dishing it out.
Which would be super, super cool. However, we're probably not going to see that because he didn't know he was alive the whole time. Because, he lives in sand on the high ground. But the Obi-Wan series is definitely the Obi-Wan series is a fan favorite series that they've been waiting for. We finally got a little tidbit of it. Hayden Christensen coming back for Vader is going to be awesome. We'll probably see some more live action scenes, maybe either from Clone Wars or before Episode 2 about him training him, or even just Vader doing his Vader thing. Either way,
also the possibility of seeing some clones, such as we have Wolf, we have a couple of other guys like Rex, different characters
Rex could come back,
hold the chips. But yeah,
that would be nice. I'm excited for that. Probably gonna be on Tatooine most of the time, so easy budget. But speaking of clones, we have the Bad Batch animated series coming at you guys. This is gonna take place after Order 66. From the Clone Wars and Episode 3, obviously. And these clones are going to be trying to live their day-to-days as mercenaries taking on missions. They're most likely, from what we saw from the trailer, going to be fighting their own brethren, which they kind of were already separated from them and we're huge fans of them anyways. But I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. I want to see what Fives is going to be about, how the Bad Batch is going to interact with the fact that Order 66 has happened. I think they were a good group that people were falling in love with when they first were introduced in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. And I'm excited to see where they're going to go from here, because this is probably going to be on the darker side, just because Order 66 and you're fighting your brothers. This is going to be good regardless. And Dave Filoni is coming back for it too.
Yeah. Another good thing is that they are sticking with the same animation. This isn't going to change. It's not going to be like a separate standalone. It's going to be kind of that same feel from Clone Wars and Rebels that we have through the Disney Plus era. Speaking of animation, there's a new show called Visions, which is coming out. They're a compilation of animated shorts done by different anime directors in different anime styles. Probably what I would compare it to is more than likely going to be like Love Robots.
Love Death Robots.
It's
Yes.
going to be something similar to
Basically.
that, where you see.
But PG-13.
Yes, exactly. 'Cause the Love Death Robots was a little more intense than that.
A little bit more TVMA.
But yeah, that one I'm pretty excited about. There were like rumors everywhere going around. There's rumors of AOT people coming on. There's rumors of other guys. None of that's confirmed. So don't get your hopes up. But at the same time, it's a possibility, which would be cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I mean, we kind of see animated shorts, not animated, but anime shorts. None of them were really like Star Wars official, or maybe one or two of them were, but to see probably some big anime directors and animators come in to do these shorts is probably going to be awesome. They already have a Luke Skywalker manga that's out. So from then it was kind of a tidbit like, hey, they're going to kind of expand the horizons on what their content's going to be. I don't know what to expect from this. If it's like Love, Death, Robots, then I'm excited. But, PG-13. Something that I have questions about is the series called Willow. Because we don't know anything about it.
Literally absolutely nothing.
Literally
no
nothing.
information giving whatsoever. It's in
None.
the Star Wars universe. That's about all we got.
That's all we got.
But something that we do have more information on, because we
Just a
actually
little
have a possible release date, is
Possible.
Rogue Squadrons. It's directed by Patty Jenkins, coming back, and it's going to be released somewheres in the 2022-2023 era. Mostly touches on the Rebel pilots over time. It's going to be pretty interesting. This is also one of the, actually, I think it's the only movie within
Out of this
Star Wars
release, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be Patty Jenkins, which she had a heartfelt video about her dad was a pilot, yada yada yada. Which cool beans. She's a pretty good director. If you've seen Wonder Woman, she did that. Great movie, loved it. It's gonna be about these rebels pilots during the probably either after episode 3 up until episode 6. Don't know where specifically because it's Rebels, Empire. That's the only time they were there. But that's going to be something to look forward to because given her, how do I say it, passion for piloting, I'm pretty sure she's going to put her all into this movie. And it's
Definitely.
Even though it's going to be 2022, 2023, the fact that they're releasing information about it now means Star Wars and Disney is excited about it, which makes me excited about it. So I'm excited. Something else about females is going to be a series called The Acolyte. This one's going to be a little bit of a twist. It takes place roughly 350 years before episode 1, and this is going to be a female-centric show. Takes place during the High Republic. It's a mystery thriller featuring a rising threat of the dark side of the Force. So it's kind of like 1717 in a sense, but darker, female-oriented, and during the High Republic. Which High Republic were kind of, we know they've been pushing that little saga, I guess, or segment of the universe. So it's cool to see that be thrown into a show. If I'm not mistaken, they have, I cannot remember the actress's name, but she was in Orange is the New Black. She was in Ad Astra. She was in something else as well. But anyways, I'll look it up when you're talking. But basically, she's going to be leading it, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited for it because it's more underground. It's going to be darker, obviously. The Rise of the Dark of the Force is going to be pretty cool. Maybe we see a tidbit of Plagueis or something. How he's living for a while. I don't know.
With this one, I'm super on the Sith side, obviously. I've got my favorite Sith Lord sitting behind me always. But I'm pretty excited for this, mostly in part on the idea. I love the Acolytes and like the theory behind them because they're like students of the dark side. If you've played the game, you know what game I'm talking about. You would know that Acolytes are pretty dope and can get pretty powerful. But now to step aside a little bit from this fantastic world of Star Wars, we're going to get into...
I do want to say before you say that, I did just find... Where'd it go? Her
the actress?
name... Never mind, I lied. I lied.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I lied.
So to hop into it, January next year, 2021, we are going to get WandaVision. It's been talked about for quite a while. There's been some tidbits and a little bit of cool things. I like the whole like weird 50s, 60s vibe thing going on, but also
70s,
it's
80s.
confusing because Vision doesn't know where he's at, and they put that in the trailer, and now I'm confused. So we talked a little bit about what we think WandaVision could do and how it's a possible way for them to introduce the whole idea of multiverse because of how powerful Wanda is. She could split it, but at the same time, mostly speculation right now. On to you.
So basically, as you mentioned, January 15th release, they're going to have Darcy from Thor, Agent Wu from Ant-Man 2, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, Teyona, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, from Captain Marvel, who's basically going to be the grown-up version of the little girl, if I'm not mistaken. From what I saw from the trailer, it's going to have to do with the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone's coming back. It was the Mind Stone, right? Or was it the Soul Stone?
I'm not sure. It's the Mind Stone.
Mind Stone. I'm gonna go with Mind Stone. Mind Stone's coming back. It's gonna have a huge factor on how the show's gonna play, and obviously how the warped decades and realities is going on. Because from when you watch the trailer, you go from like a 50s, 60s feel to a 70s, 80s to like 2000s basically. And the people in the quote unquote community don't know what's happening, are confused on what's happening, and are kind of breaking down. And Vision, who was dead, is back and is very confused because he was dead. I'm excited for the series because I don't know what to expect, but that's also one reason why I'm a little put off, because there's a lot that's happening within the Marvel universe alone that's connecting to this, like Doctor Strange, the Spider-Man. Like this is obviously a starting point for everything. So mixed feelings. Something
jump point.
that I don't really have mixed feelings on is the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I'm excited for that one, to be honest. You're going to see the U.S. agent in there. You're going to see a bromance, basically, between the Falcon and Winter Soldier, because we kind of got a tidbit of that in, I want to say, Civil War, where they were bantering a lot, and it was freaking hilarious. Falcon's basically going to be trying to accept and be the role that Captain America left for him. Baron Zemo is going to come back as well in his classic costume as well, from what we saw in the original trailer back, I want to say last year, not at E3, but the Disney convention they did before COVID. But that's going to be pretty good. I'm excited for that one. I feel like this is going to be a little bit less hectic than WandaVision, but it's still going to be an intense show because there's a lot of components in here. The U.S. agent, I heard rumored that General Ross is going to come back. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. There's going to be, Baron Zemo, which I think the character's amazing, and they didn't do him great in Age of Ultron, but I feel like they're going to push a really good arc for him in this one as well.
Another thing that's cool about this is Kurt Russell's son. He's been in quite a few things. He's going to be playing, I believe it's the U.S. agent, the guy that the U.S. pretty much picks to take on the
agent, yeah,
of Captain America. It kind of looked like he was going to play like more of that like sitting in the middle kind of guy, where the Falcon and Winter Soldier might have to put him in check a couple of times. I think within the movies, they never really put a lot of effort into the Falcon and Winter Soldier. They were both two characters that were fantastic in the comics, but never got enough writing to make them fantastic in the movie. So having them set alone on their sides, it's almost like if you take 50 and 50, put them together, you get 100. So that's what I'm hoping for this.
Yeah.
Now the next thing up is something that we've been waiting for since, honestly, I think before Endgame, is the Black Widow movie. It is slated to come May 2021. What's kind of funky about it is, in my opinion, should have came out before Endgame. They could have pulled a little bit more heartstrings. It's hard to get fully connected because Black Widow is not here. But with Marvel, they love bringing characters back, so there's always the possibility. But yeah, I'm really excited to see. He's the guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember his name. It's so bad. We should have looked up names before this.
We should have. There's so much information.
To see him come in, dabble a little bit on her backstory and her family because sister was in it. But yeah,
and he's supposedly the father. Not like legit, just like, you know what I mean? Surrogate father kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, like the father figure. Because I was about to say, I was like,
yeah, father figure.
Okay, father figure too.
Should have clarified. Apologies.
Yeah,
but yeah, with the may release here. And if I hadn't said it earlier, Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out March 19th of 2021. But the Black Widow movie, we've been waiting for literally a year. They've had plenty of trailers, which basically tell us a gist of how the movie's going to go.
A lot of it.
Taskmaster's going to be in it, and I'm super excited for that. It's probably like the only reason why I'm watching this movie. Nothing against Black Widow. I just think the movie's unnecessary. But it is taking place after Civil War, if I'm not mistaken.
Not 100% sure.
It's either after Civil War or Winter Soldier. But Taskmaster being in it's going to be freaking awesome because he's a dope villain to be feared because of his photographic memory. Having what's his face from Stranger Things come back as the Russian version of Captain America is going to be hilarious for sure. The movie isn't probably as hype as most things on this release slate, but it is definitely something that I wish they would just already release. Like, I stop pushing it out. Just release it like right now. Give us an early Christmas present. Just release it. Something that everyone is
David Harbour.
About.
David Harbour. Sorry.
Thank
David
you.
Harbour. He's playing him. Sorry.
See, you could find the name. I couldn't find that one chick's name. I probably should have just looked up. Anyways, one thing that people are excited about is Loki. The Loki series has a release of May 2021, which comes out the same month as Black Widow because they're probably like, nothing's going to really happen with that movie, so we're going to give you Loki. Loki's basically, he's going to be drifting through time and space with the cube. I want to say it's the TVD or the VDT, whatever the org is. I cannot remember. They basically captured him because of his time traveling and tampering and whatnot. And Owen Wilson's in it, so that's going to be freaking awesome. I'm excited to see what's going to happen because it's basically just him wrecking havoc. And Tom Hiddleston looks like he had a lot of fun making this series, and it looks like people that did the series had a lot of fun doing it as well. So I'm honestly, that's the May slate that I'm excited for, because at first I was kind of off because I'm like, we didn't really need this, but it takes place in that timeline of when the Avengers go back in Endgame and Loki picks up the cube. That's where this takes place. So it's not in the main timeline. It's that separate timeline, but it's still exciting.
Yeah. I was pretty heartbroken when I saw that Tom Hiddleston get choked out by Thanos. So having this come back is fantastic. He's one of my favorite actors. And the banter that came from him and Thor through literally all of the Thor movies was the only thing keeping the Dark Planet alive. The next movie up was it
the Dark Planet?
Was it called the Dark Planet?
Thor
in the Dark
World?
Dark World. Dark Planet, Dark World. Same thing. It's still garbage.
Difference. Yeah.
So next up after that is going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That is slated for July 2021. I am not as up to date on this. I know that it looks pretty interesting. The people that they have casted for it is a pretty cool cast coming from that side of the world. So I'm a little bit more excited about the integration of this within the MCU if they decide to do it. But yeah, Zeus, what are your thoughts?
So I'm excited for this only because, one, we get to see the Mandarin come, like the real Mandarin come back. So he is the villain. That's what the Ten Rings is about, because that's his org. Because there's a short out there, which is MCU canon. Everyone forgets it, where the guy that played the Mandarin, the actor, he gets broken out of prison and the real Mandarin captures him. It's like 15 minutes. And I'm telling you, go look it up. It's the Mandarin, like, short, or Iron Man 3 Mandarin short. It's like 15 minutes. He breaks him out of prison, and one of the prison like guards or whatever was undercover as one of the Ten Rings, and they capture him. And he's like, "Who are you taking me to?" He's like, "The real Mandarin." And I was like, "Oh, that's hype." But the real Mandarin, he's a freaking amazing villain. The Ten Rings is obviously one great org to have that brings in some more crime aspects instead of just major villains. And the actual Ten Rings that he has is a really cool component for them to introduce. Shang-Chi, because of the not necessarily success, but the mixed feelings of Iron Fist. I know a lot of people wanted to see an actual kung fu, hero from Marvel, because we have plenty of those. So having Shang-Chi come in here with, the whole Asian cast, most of them probably either doing most of their stunts or, pulling Mortal Kombat basically. But they're going to be coming in. I like the casting. It looks great. I don't know much on the story. We don't have a trailer or anything like that, but I heard they just finished production So we're going to be hearing more about it pretty soon, especially because it is coming up in a very, very quick time. So that's honestly pretty excited for that one. One thing that I do know some people are excited for is the What If series. This is basically coming out in summer 2021, and it is going to be an animated series similar to how Visions is, or Love, Death, Robots. They're a bunch of animated, not necessarily shorts, but episodes. And they're all about what if scenarios, such as if Peggy Carter was Captain America, Winter Soldier fighting a zombified Captain America, plenty of other ones. Those are just the two to name off. But because one, this is animated, the style of it's I'm a little off on it because the 3D animated. They could have did better, to be honest. I feel like if they would have went more 2D, it would have had a better effect. But obviously 3D is cheaper. There's a lot of stories they could do, especially Marvel Zombies, a whole bunch like Ultimate Universe, a bunch Miles Morales, a whole bunch of different timelines that they can do to introduce in this without breaking their own continuity. So I think that's a cool thing to do.
I think one thing with this is the one that I actually stuck out to me was the fact that Yondu came down and abducted T'Challa. That one looked so interesting to me because T'Challa's character and mannerism is so opposite of Star-Lord. So seeing how that plays out is so fascinating to me. And another thing was seeing like how Doctor Strange was facing himself and he was fighting himself, which was another thing that was crazy.
Maybe he's Dormammu.
Exactly. So there's some things that are very fascinating about it. And with the animation, I like it because they tried to make the characters look like if we took the characters we'd seen and loved from the movies and then just had them animated. That's what they look like. Every single one of them. I mean, like, you can look at Doctor Strange and be like, that is Benedict Cumberbatch. That is 100%. So next one up is something we've heard about for a while. Not a lot of people have information on, mostly in the terms of it's a not super popular or
it's
polarized comic. It's the Eternals. It's pretty much a very large group of heroes that are all coming together. One of which is Angelina Jolie, the only one I care about because Angelina Jolie, she's crazy, but she matches in the crazy.
She's crazy.
So, but yeah, that one's coming in November 2021. There's not a lot on it. There's been some casting, and then there's been some fan casting that people have tried to confirm. Nothing really fully is confirmed except for the Angelina Jolie one. But yeah. Other than that, take it away, Zeus.
So I'm semi-excited for this. I was gonna say series for this movie. Yes, Angelina Jolie is gonna be in it, and that's gonna be pretty cool. She's playing like a fierce warrior named Thena. They did release the full cast. Richard Madden, he's the all-powerful Icarus. Which Richard Madden, he's from Game of Thrones. He was the older brother out of the Stark brothers, if anyone knows that. Can I remember his name? It's like right there, but whatever. Kit Harington is going to be in it. He's going to be Dane Whiteman, which is, if comic book fans know, is Black Knight. And so he's going to be another sword-based hero in the Eternals, who is going to have a love interest with one of these Eternals. The whole list is there, but those are just three of the big names that I know people are going to know. It's going to take place. It's going to go in like two timelines from what I've heard, back from like their origin up into the main timeline. And it's going to obviously have to do with the Eternals and the Celestials. The Celestials are going to have a huge influence on it because they're the ones that created them in a sense. But they're basically just OP heroes just living through time. Like Voices said, there's not a lot of stuff known about it. But this is another one that's semi-hyped up, mainly for the casting, and has the potential to be good. It sounds similar to how the Inhumans was starting out, but the Inhumans, one, casting-wise, wasn't that great. Two, the CGI and story also wasn't that great. And not only did they mess up with doing a movie and then try to do a two-part movie, then series, and then movie, then series, and then just straight up series. Like, the whole thing was a mess. That's a whole nother conversation, but the Inhumans was a mess. I just don't want this to go that same route. That's my only concern about it.
Yep.
One thing I am also concerned about is the next one up on this list is the Miss Marvel series coming out in late 2021. The main actress will be in Captain Marvel 2. That is also confirmed. Basically, it's going to take place of a fan who I'm assuming is going to have inhuman powers. And her huge inspiration, as most comic book lovers know, is Captain Marvel. Not much is known about the series itself, you know, taking place, plot point, yada, yada, yada. It's not that I'm not a fan of the character. I think the character is okay. I don't think she's good enough to have her own series, especially just yet. I mean, she was never standoutish in the comics, in my opinion. There was plenty of other characters that could have had their own series before her. Like, there's no reason for her to have her own series right now. If the Inhumans were more relevant and more into it, get her in, and then maybe start up the Champions as the series. Maybe like that's a segue to do that. Which, if you don't know what the Champions are, it's like a group with Miles Morales, I want to say Andrew Chow, the second Hulk, and then Miss Marvel and a bunch of others that all like grouped together in like New York, like
the Young Justice.
Yeah, like a Young Justice / Defenders in a sense. Okay. I'm not excited for this series whatsoever. I don't know why they have it up there. Well, I do, but I don't. And I don't know. I don't like this.
With me, it kind of sits. I played obviously, Miss Marvel became the main focal point of the Avengers Assemble video game that came out. In that sense, she was a good character to pull on the story arc of it. They introduced a lot of her family. Now, the main problem I see is that the game kind of tanked. It was very good, had a lot of good response at the very beginning, but the replayability on it got boring. The missions weren't being updated. They took too long to do certain things. So it started to drop off. I think Miss Marvel, in a sense, hinges on, it's a very similar character aspect as the DC counterpart, which is Shazam, where it's a child who then gets superpowers and is able to see the transition of idolizing these characters into becoming one of them. So it's going to be interesting if they touch more on her family side and then pull in a little bit more with her powers, even throwing some of the Avengers in there, because she did have some influence with the Avengers. I think that would help. Something that, speaking of the Avengers, the one Avenger who has been in here for so long and gotten so little time
and recognition,
such a fantastic character, is Hawkeye.
Oh,
We're bringing him to his own show. It is Jeremy Renner with Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld. And honestly, I'm excited for it because Hawkeye is an amazing character. He has been slept on for so long. He has such an amazing heart. The fact that I am sad that they're not going to touch on Ronin within this series. They could get there. But I'm kind of sad on that one because Ronan was the main focal point of Endgame. They never really touched on his name, but it was Ronan for comic book fans.
We know it was Ronan. We looked
Ronan
at it.
is pretty much Hawkeye when he goes Batman on him. Yeah, and we're not talking like chill Batman where he has morals. We're not talking
about Christian Bale. We mean Ben Affleck.
We're talking Ben Affleck beating him to a bloody pulp, smashing him through windows, shooting him with guns. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Comes in late 2021, same thing, not fully slated with a release month, but we got a release date in a sense.
So from what I have heard, this is not to like diminish what you just said, he may or may not still be Ronin. Okay. From what I hear, Kate Bishop is taking the role as Hawkeye.
Okay.
Possibly.
I could see that.
Because that is eventually what happens, is she is Hawkeye in the comics. Mm-hmm. Now, his family is going to be in the series. The actual actors from Endgame, those guys, the kids and all, they're coming back. He is going to have hearing loss. There is scenes or pictures of him with hearing aids, so the deafness will be a factor in there, which that's great because in the comics he's deaf, so that's great to have that kind of aspect on the character because it made him even more intriguing and lovable. But yeah, Jeremy Renner portrayed Hawkeye very well with what he was given, and he was always a great character, especially in the comics, and it's sad to see him be slept on. It's great to see him in not necessarily a whole series about him, but a series that is focal pointed in a sense around him. So I am excited for that one as well. I want to see more Ronin though. That's what I want to see because we deserve that. We deserve it as fans. One thing that fans are going to be pretty intrigued about is the Doctor Strange 2 sequel, aka Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, I think is what they're calling it.
So before we touch on that one,
okay,
we're missing one.
We're missing one.
Spider-Man 3 coming December 2021. Yeah, now Here's why. If you want to know more about this and our thoughts on it, go to one of our latest podcasts. We go very in depth about different ways that we feel this movie could go. There is not a lot confirmed.
I feel like it was episode 2. I think it was episode 2.
The only thing confirmed right now is some of the casting. There's a lot of old characters from older movies coming into it. If you want to know more about that one, go to our oldest podcast. Oh, not our oldest podcast, but one of our
second episode.
Where we go super in depth about it, and you can get our full thoughts and opinions on it. You're good.
Yes, thank you. You know what? This is why I have him here.
But little plug.
Yeah. To piggyback off of that real quick, they did confirm some more castings, which most of it is stuff we already speculated in that episode as well.
Because we mind readers over here. We got
honestly, if you watch our podcast, we predict things way before it actually happens. We're freaking oracles. That's just what happens.
We're just inhuman.
We're Inhumans.
We're the reason why Miss Marvel's coming out. All right.
Okay.
Let's get on.
Madness in the Multiverse of Madness, is coming out March 2022. Now, just like in that podcast episode we were mentioning, this is going to have a huge factor in Phase 4 and in the current lineups. Doctor Strange is going to be in Spider-Man 3. He's going to supposedly be in WandaVision. And Wanda and Tobey Maguire is supposedly supposed to be in Doctor Strange 2. So whatever happens in WandaVision is going to have a huge effect and take place and most likely conclude whatever saga or arc started there in this one. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Nightmare is going to be the villain in this sequel movie. I cannot remember his name. He was in 12 Years a Slave. He's the black guy in the first one. I cannot remember his name right now.
No idea.
Anyways, he's coming back as well, supposedly. I'm pretty sure we'll see more of an anti-hero vibe from him, and probably conclude with Doctor Strange 3, him being the villain. Doctor Strange has to fight off against him, yada, yada, yada. You heard it here first. That's probably what's going to happen. But I am excited for it because Sammy Raimi's coming back to direct it. He's the guy that did the first Spider-Man trilogy, and this is going to be the first MCU series or MCU movie that is going to be horror-esque. So it's going to be more dark and horror feel. So
it's going to what it's going to try to do is try to do what New Mutants was not able to, where make it into this kind of like horror aspect of these heroes, starting to see a little bit more of the darker side of what they can do. Talking about the undark side, we got Thor: Love and Thunder. Which, if it's going anywhere near what Ragnarok gave us, this is going to be fantastic. By looking, what?
Sorry, the black guy I was talking about, it's Chiwetel. Yes. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's very ethnic. Okay. It's very unique. He's a great man.
So just by looking at the title, you can obviously tell that it's still going to grab that like vibe maybe from Ragnarok, where it almost takes Ragnarok had a very big 70s and 80s vibe put into it. That was the the theme kind of behind it. A fantastic thing that I'm pretty excited about is that Christian Bale is coming in as the antagonist. I don't know if it's the only antagonist, because Marvel, they love to have 50 villains in one movie with
and then half of them are good guys.
Exactly. But he's going to come in as Gore, the God Killer. Now, Gore, the God Killer, and Thor, they kind of sound like they might be a little bit of an equal match. Now, this does touch on the whole comic strand where Natalie Portman is coming back, and she's going to play the female Thor counterpart. Thor's still probably a little pudgy. Also, he was guiding off with the Guardians of the Galaxy last time we saw him. We might still see him into it, not fully integrated as a main character, but probably as a secondary character to Natalie Portman being the first main. We don't really know necessarily 100%. We do know that Chris Hemsworth, as well as Natalie Portman, and Christian Bale will be in it.
And Tessa Thompson, who played Valkyrie, she's going to be in it as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like they're going to probably play on the female Thor aspect, which people don't know. Jane Foster gets cancer, which, I mean, that has a point because when Thor becomes unworthy, Mjolnir was left on the moon, if I'm not mistaken, and then she was able to lift Mjolnir and became a female Thor. When she was female Thor, basically her cancer and everything stopped. She was at peak health, but as soon as she let go of Mjolnir and was released of the power, she went back to her cancer self. So that may be an arc they're going to push in this. That would be an interesting crowd to push on, in the sense of there's heroes in every corner and places, I kind of like that. At first, I was kind of put offish, but it is I don't know how to pronounce his name. Takawaki. Takanlaba Ding Dong. Anyways, guy that directed Ragnarok is coming back for this one, so it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny. It's going to have great themes and nods and Easter eggs, and it's going to be an enjoyable movie. From Doctor Strange to Thor, you got literally two sides of the same coin of Marvel. Yep. Speaking of Marvel, Captain Marvel 2 has a semi-confirmed release date of November 11th of 2022.
So there's one in between there, July 2022, Black Panther 2.
We're not going to talk about that.
Talk about that one?
I mean, go ahead. I skipped it, but go ahead.
We talked a little bit on what possibly could come with it. Actually, something that we brought up just recently, which we didn't actually put into the podcast, is we thought about a really good idea that they could do is actually pay homage, especially if they do bring in the whole aspect of Jane Foster having cancer, is almost addressing it as T'Challa died of cancer. It'd be a very easy way for them to integrate it. They wouldn't have to write a bunch of stuff. It would be a simple and a fantastic way to explain, like, hey, these guys are heroes, but they aren't completely immortal. They are not these super beings. They have regular problems. They have health problems that can happen. It would pay homage to him because you can't replace someone like that.
Exactly.
So that was just something that I want to throw in there. Comes July 2022. We've talked about it in a previous podcast. I just wanted to throw that little bit that we came up because it was a heartfelt thing that we thought would be really cool as something they did.
Instead of doing like actual Black Panther, it's more of like a group named the Black Panther.
That's another thing.
I mean, that's a little sensitive there, but it's more of the mantle isn't put on anyone as one person, more of as a group of people, which would, like I said, that has to be played right.
Yeah, we actually thought it would be really cool to unify the clans and the idea of all of them coming together to form the Black Panther. Having Shuri be the tech side, having M'Baku be the strong side, the muscle side with it, and then work together to defeat the evil that there is with
I was the opposite. I was like, let them fight it out, and then at the end, no one's the Black Panther. Like that's the DC in me, just like raving it out. Like I want to hear that.
That's that angst that has fueled all DC movies.
That's the My Chemical Romance in me. Anyways, so Captain Marvel 2, like I mentioned, comes out November 2022. The main actress that's going to play Miss Marvel, she's going to be into this sequel, as I mentioned earlier. Not much is known about it, except for the same cast from the first one's mostly coming back. I don't think this movie was necessary. Didn't like the first one whatsoever. I don't know. They're going to try to push her hard from what I'm seeing. And I'm not a fan of it. I didn't like how she's been. I mean, she wasn't even really there in Endgame except for one moment, maybe like two or three
moments. Very beginning, very end,
and then a little bit in the middle. That's it.
Yep.
She was basically a cameo. She was a cameo in a sense.
She wasn't in the. Was she in the middle? I don't think she was ever in the middle.
Yeah, it was after the snap. I mean, that's the. I can't clear if that's still the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, the beginning of that movie, since it was 3 hours, was like 45 minutes. So,
so yeah, she was in the beginning and the end. She was technically
she was
a cameo.
in Act 1. She was in Act 1. There you go. Act 1 and Act 3. Act 2, no.
Anyways, but yeah, I'm not too thrilled about this.
Yeah, I can take it or leave it. I think her character arc is very different from how other females in this universe are portrayed. I'm not the biggest fan with it. The actress does a decent job with what she's given. I think they were trying to write it in a very specific way, and it just didn't come off, and it didn't hit super well. It definitely didn't hit anywhere near like the popularity with like Black Panther and like any of the Avengers. But
or Wonder Woman. Yeah. Just talk to Patty Jenkins. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. The next thing that's coming up in 2022, it's called Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. If they don't release it in December, I don't know when they would release it. Because it's
Thanksgiving
holiday special.
Thanksgiving,
obviously. They could, but they want to give Captain Marvel enough time to
No, this is the
Prosper.
real reason
So-
why it's there.
The Guardians, it's coming out. James Gunn is coming back for it. There's a post on his Instagram talking about it, so it's gonna still be there. He does say his inspiration came and is gonna come from the Star Wars holiday
I knew
special
it.
that
I
came out, which
freaking
was a
knew it.
cult classic. Some
know.
people loved it, some people hated it. And it's probably gonna be the same thing with this Guardians of the Galaxy.
No,
I think they're
everyone's
gonna
gonna
do.
love it.
Yeah, I think because of the different tones that come from Star Wars, and then doing like a parody type of thing, where the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're really the funny version of the Avengers. That's
Yeah.
what they are. They're the funny, goofy Avengers. I mean, you have Drax who thinks he's invisible. You have a talking raccoon. You have a tree that only says 3 words. You've got a very angry Chris Pratt who acts like Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec quite often. And now you even have the possibility of Thor coming in there and adding a whole other aspect because of the
You know what I
rivalry.
realized?
The
What
random
happened with
rivalry.
Nebula and Gamora? Are they still with them?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Gamora, remember, because Gamora was
Because
still,
that's
like,
Endgame
high
Gamora.
end.
That's not the real.
Yeah,
Gamora.
it's broken timeline Gamora.
It's
But
pre-Guardians
she stayed
Gamora.
with them. Nebula is with them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be what's there. I'm excited for that one because I love the holiday special and I just love Chris Pratt. He's a fantastic guy.
I mean, Chris Pratt's an amazing guy. I'm not necessarily thrilled about it, but I will probably see this because it's gonna be funny.
Yes.
Like James Gunn, with the fact that Thor is gonna, I know Thor's gonna be in it for sure, at least either cameo wise or whatnot. And then there's obviously gonna be touch-ups from Thor: Love and Thunder, the effects that ending is gonna have, positive or negative. That could, be cool to see. And then the fact that Chris Pratt's, gonna have to figure out how to fall or have Gamora fall back in love with his Star Lord. That'll be an interesting thing to see. It's gonna be super awkward and hilarious.
Very. Best part.
One thing, gosh, that I'm also not excited
Touch on it
about.
and then move on.
Yep,
Touch on it
I'm
and
not
move
excited about this. Ironheart, not a release date coming out. If you don't know who she is, I'm so happy for you. She's basically super genius, young girl, creates her own Iron Man suit, and is basically trying to be a replacement for Iron Man.
Yeah, I think just in the sense of what the MCU has, I don't think there will be an ability for it. I think I don't think they're trying to do it as a replacement, especially because they're doing it as a show. I don't think it'll
so
touch
bad.
like that. It's good. It's
They
fine.
needed to do Iron Lad. That's what
I
they needed to
know.
do. They needed to
I
get the
know.
kid from Iron Man 3 and him be the new one. Like, come on.
I mean, well, we don't know much about Ironheart. We do know like the casting, but it could even be an introduction. Like, I mean, what if they're best friends? What if they do something like that? Obviously, we saw the Iron Lad kid at the very end of Endgame at the funeral, so they're still gonna use him in stuff. We know that they will, because Marvel never lets somebody sit to the side. They don't, except for Hawkeye and Black
Mandarin,
Widow and the Mandarin
the real
and about half of the MCU. But next up, we have one that's not going to sit to the side. He
Definitely
sat to
not.
the side since the 90s, and we're going to talk
Drum
about the 90s
roll.
only because the last 2 movies were
We're not talking about that.
helping. But Blade, we have
Reboot.
Mahershala Ali coming in as the new Blade. There was a little bit of skepticism and anger from Wesley Snipes' side because he wanted to be involved within the movie, but Mahershala
Ali. Yeah.
Mahershala Ali. I'm gonna call him Ali because it's a little bit easier.
It's 3 letters.
He was able to connect with Wesley and was able to get a lot more feel for the character. I think he will do a fantastic job. I also think having him come in at the same time where we're finding out that Morbius is written in as part of the MCU.
Oh, is that confirmed
Scorpion.
now?
Well, I mean, unless they just have the same guy playing Scorpion in the exact
Check
same.
our podcast, our episode 2 podcast about that. But
Yes, because we talk about that as well.
very intense.
Because at the end of the
It's called
trailer for
Spider-Verse.
Morbius that's introduced, if they bring Blade in, which bringing him into the Avengers would add a whole other aspect, they could even throw in the idea of villains from the supernatural side of it, throwing in some werewolves and some vampires. Honestly, even throwing in some
Dracula.
mutants, maybe some guys that have only 3 claws instead of 5. But anyway, none of that has been confirmed when it comes to the X-Men, but Blade is set to come at some point by
in Phase 4.
Ali.
Actually, it's just to pick up on what I just commented. It's going to be in Phase 5. That is the start of Phase 5.
That's true.
So it's going to be a ways away. If you don't know who the actor is, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in House of Cards for a while, more specifically known as Cottonmouth in the Luke Cage Netflix series, which was a pretty dang good series. He played an amazing Cottonmouth. He's a great actor. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Blade. I think he was probably the best fit. Like, I can't think of anyone else besides, Wesley and him to be Blade now.
It looks very similar.
Yeah, and his mannerisms and the way he acts, he's going to be very serious. Like, it's going to be great. This is going to be a darker one, and you could tell Disney learning from past mistakes, not mistakes, but just past experiences in DC. They're going to go a little bit on the darker side with these next couple of phases since they already got the fan base there. Speaking of fan base, though, we got a She-Hulk a series coming to you guys. This one does not have a specific release date, but it is confirmed Mark Ruffalo is going to come back to portray Hulk. Most likely, some accident's going to happen to She-Hulk. He's going to do a blood transfusion, and she's going to be able to Hulk it out. She is a defense attorney, and it is rumored, possibly confirmed, that Daredevil will be in the series. He's also rumored to be in Spider-Man 3 as well as a lawyer. So being able to bring in those actors from the Netflix series coming into this is going to be awesome. We do go into depth on that in our previous podcast episodes, so check those out. And someone else that's confirmed that I'm so excited for, Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie. Tim Roth is coming back in this series. He's obviously going to be a main factor into it. Maybe we get to see some Red Hulk as well. That would be awesome. But that is definitely something that we will see coming into this She-Hulk series.
Yep. It's a pretty interesting one to me. I think kind of touching a little bit more on the lawyer aspect of her, as well as kind of how Daredevil was able to play like the Justice Department as well as the executioner side. So it's a really cool combo that they're able to do. Obviously, She-Hulk doesn't wear a mask and isn't blind, so you're going to see a different aspect, obviously, than Daredevil.
A little lighter.
The next one coming up is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That is not determined as to when it's going to come out. It is obviously part of Phase 5. Pretty much the rest of what we're going to talk about is going to be part of Phase 5, just so we can get that out of the way. And they don't
that we know of.
Yeah, they don't have release dates either right now. But that one's coming up. I'm pretty excited for it. I really love the dynamics from the Guardians. I feel, especially since they're going to bring Thor in, because he left with them at the end of Endgame. So he's going to be a good part with it. Touching a little bit more on the space aspect is going to be really cool, which a couple more in here are going to touch on that space aspect as well. So when we get to those, you'll see them.
That is true.
Yeah, pretty excited about those ones.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see. Rumored to be 2023 release date from what I've read. But I feel I've also heard that the story is going to take place centrically around Rocket and his origin, because each movie has had some kind of connection to one of the characters and their family. With Ego and Star-Lord in the second one, it was, if I'm not mistaken, Gamora, Nebula, with Thanos,
as well as Drax.
Exactly. So having Groot most likely and Rocket in this third one will be a pretty good addition. And from what I heard, we will have a new Guardians after that. So some people may die or leave. We'll have to find out. Something else that I'm very excited about. Oh, and we were talking about this before the podcast. They're coming out with a Moon Knight series. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who Moon Knight is, oh my gosh. He's basically Batman, all in white, multiple personalities. And
just imagine that. That's what it is. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with him. He has some crazy gadgetry. I mean, his main thing is literally just a big staff. It's a big staff, and too. So
I was like Mundus.
Yeah. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Now coming up next.
Wait a second.
What?
Just so people know, Oscar Isaac is confirmed to play Moon Knight. Okay. So if you don't know who he is, amazing actor. He's known as Poe Dameron in the Star Wars sequel trilogy and
That's
Apocalypse in the terrible X-Men Apocalypse movie. But he's going to be Moon Knight, which they've been looking for a cast for an actor to play Moon Knight for a long time. I think this is a great cast, and I'm excited for that.
Yep. The next installment up on this list is going to be Fantastic Four MCU. Finally,
Confirmed.
We had the ones that were in the early 2000s,
which were great.
Alba and all of those, they were really good, very interesting. They played the characters properly,
very well.
Then we had Fanforstic.
The worst thing I've ever seen since Dragon Ball Evolution. It
was pretty rough. Not a lot of response to it. A lot of people felt that some of the characters weren't properly done, which I agree with. I didn't hate the movie. It was enjoyable. It was just not Fantastic Four.
It was Fanforstic.
Movie aspect, it was interesting. So that was the Fanforstic, but this is going to be the Fantastic Four. And it is in the MCU.
Confirmed.
Hold in there. So we're glad to see them come in. And who knows, maybe them and the Guardians will start to do stuff. You'll start to see the Avengers pop up more. So yeah.
There is a lot they can do with this. They could introduce mutants in this aspect. They can do more in depth on the Inhumans, which could be a way that they get their powers, which that's fine if they don't do the space thing. I completely get it. Yeah. Reed Richards basically is going to be the replacement of Iron Man in the sense of the billionaire genius. Well, not necessarily billionaire, but he will be rich. A rich genius with powers at this point who could stretch. I want to see who they're going to cast. I swear they need to have, what's his name? Oh God! Why I'm drawing blanks with names
John
right
Krasinski.
now. Yes, thank you, John Krasinski and Emily Amelia. Yes, Emily Blunt. I was gonna say Amelia. Those two as Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm. Boom, perfect cast. The other two, I don't care. Everything. I don't care. John Watts is directing this. Who he, if I'm not mistaken, did the previous Ant-Man movies, which I wasn't too thrilled. The first one was fine. Second one was terrible. I felt like Marvel or Disney butted in a lot on that one, and he didn't get to really do what he wanted to do from what I've seen. But I'm definitely excited for Fantastic Four. One thing that I'm intrigued about though is Secret Invasion. This is going to be a series taking place with Sam Jackson coming back as Nick Fury, Talos, who was the Skrull character in Captain Marvel, also coming back. And if you don't know what Secret Invasion is in the comics, it's basically an event where the Skrulls kind of take over Earth and start replacing people because they could shapeshift. One thing I didn't like about Captain Marvel was the fact that the Skrulls were the good guys and the innocent ones. Maybe in Secret Invasion we could find out it's the flip side and they were just playing both ends and they're actually really bad because the Kree-Skrull War. That's a super awesome thing to see, which I want to see. The Skrulls as a villain is awesome because, like in Fantastic Four, there's a Super Skrull who has all of the Fantastic Four's powers. So having those coinciding is great, and I want to see that. So please stop making everyone the good guy.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I think it would be cool to see even like the Skrulls kind of split rank, have some of them be on the good side, have some of them be on the bad side. I think delving away from the comics at this point with the amount of stuff we've talked about with before leading up to this, they could easily start to deviate from the comics even more so than they already have. But next up is the Quantum Mania. It is the next installment for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp, both of them are coming back, the actors that portray them. There is a new casting for Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie. And it's done by an actress. She's from a couple of different shows. Supernatural,
Catherine Newton.
One of them. What's up?
Catherine Newton.
I'm intrigued. Ant-Man's actually one of my favorite characters from the MCU. Me and a bunch of my buddies, we all have different characters that we all portray. So they all agree that I resemble Paul Rudd's version of Ant-Man over all of the other
100% see it.
Yeah, so I like him. Honestly, he's pretty slept on. He's just a kind of goofy character that like gets big, gets small. That's all he does. And honestly, that's what's the great thing about him. Like, he's a superhero that has literally just an up button and a down button. That's all he does. Like, that's it. And he talks to ants. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
So the supposedly maybe a villain, but Kang the Conqueror is going to be in this, which another Fantastic Four connection. Kang the Conqueror I want to say is Reed Richards' son from the future.
Oh, that's gonna be some
Yeah. So basically, he's a time traveler. He
Cable vibes.
basically, he time traveled, and there was an aspect where he was actually king, one of the Egyptian pharaohs. Starts with a TS. TSU. Feel it. Sorry, names are just really leaving me today. It's
Wait,
like late.
what did you just say?
An Egyptian pharaoh. His name starts with like a T.
Oh, Tottenham.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sutanama or whatever. Yeah, he was.
King
That was King of the
Tutankhamun or something. Whatever.
That was King the Conqueror in the comics.
Oh,
Yes. So he is a great villain because he's connected with the Fantastic Four. Already 2 Fantastic Four connections already with these 3 latest slates. Jonathan Myers, he's going to play Kang. If I'm not mistaken, he's the guy that played, I want to say he was the Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series.
Okay.
It was more of Dr. Manhattan possessed him from what it seemed. Jonathan Myers, let me see, actually. Oh, no, he's going to be in Lovecraft Country. I'm sorry. He's in Lovecraft Country, White Boy Rick, and a bunch of other movies. Nothing super major, but those are some major things that he was in. I think he's going to be a pretty interesting aspect to portray Kang. Kind of confused on what they're going to do with that in the Ant-Man movie. Obviously, time travel is going to have a thing with it, with the quantum realm, not knowing anything about it, which could be a way Kang does time travel, and this all coincides with phases 4 and 5 being an absolute madness. Also, I don't know why they recasted Cassie Lang. There's no reason to do so, and I'm kind of upset. But one thing I'm sure everyone's going to love, they're coming out with a series called I Am Groot, about your favorite Groot. We don't know anything about it. We don't know when it's going to be released. Supposedly just going to be some episodes about him and some other characters doing stuff.
Yep.
I don't know what to expect. Yeah, I don't know if it's animated or live action.
Yeah, the big thing is that they said that it's new and unusual characters that we haven't seen before, which, that's literally about it. There's not really much more to it. Now, the next thing up is something... The only thing we know about is Don Cheadle coming back, and it's called Armor Wars.
Yes.
Obviously, Don Cheadle is War Machine, so he's going to be coming back, reprising his role. Probably tying in a little bit with whoever takes over for Iron Patriot or takes on the Iron Patriot.
Norman Osborn?
That's a stretch, but doing something along those lines.
Spider-Man 3.
It's dude, if they do that with Spider-Man 3, I'm just gonna be so tired. Like I'll be so exhausted at the end of that movie. I'll be like, I got hit by so many buses.
You got hit by You got Into the Spider-Verse like on steroids.
Yeah, like on steroids. They're like, let's make it live action. Like,
let's get the Defenders.
Simmer down, please.
So you got like 5 different things happening.
But yeah, so Armor Wars is coming. That is another one that is to be announced. We don't even know what phase it is because of how far out it is. But
there is so much that they have released that we don't know when it's coming out.
Yeah.
But
that's what happens when you want to convince investors to invest in the company.
Invest, because we got stuff. Don Cheadle's a pretty hilarious actor. I liked him as War Machine, and his dynamic with a lot of the characters is awesome.
I agree.
The premise of the series is going to be if Tony's armor fell into the wrong hands, hence Armor Wars, because he's just going to be fighting a bunch of people with Tony's armor. Yeah. Most likely, half of them are going to be decked out. Other half are just going to be like some easy pickings. I don't know really what they're going to do. Maybe this is a cool way to introduce Iron Lad. Like he comes in and is like, hey, let me help you out because Tony was like a father to me and I'm his dad. And or don't you dare say what I think you're going to say. You keep her name out of your mouth.
It's a way to introduce Iron.
Get the frick out of here. No, that's madness. That's disgusting. We don't say that here.
Who knows? Maybe all 3 of them will be in there and it'll be like Spider-Man with the 3 Spider-Mans. It'll be Iron Man with 3
and then Doctor Strange comes in and is like, you thought you had it all.
Yeah, but that is pretty much where our list ends.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we just covered for you in the shortest amount of time that we could to let you guys all know.
Mm-hmm. We did
Jeez.
do pretty in-depth on Spider-Man 3 and also some things touching a little bit on Black Panther 2, so check out some of our latest podcasts. We also go pretty in-depth on most of the shows that we talked about in here for the Star Wars side.
Yeah.
So check that one out too. We talk a lot about the Ahsoka one, the connections within the Mandalorian, what we feel is next steps for Grogu.
I think it was the previous episode, actually.
Ahsoka. So yeah, just check out some of those too.
Yes, please show your love, your support. Let us know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think about this. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, yada, 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 share this to your friends. Tell us. Follow us on social media at Black Party Fun. You'll find us because we're purple. But yeah, let us know what you let us know what you think about this Star Wars Disney Marvel lineup. Like Disney just yesterday, they just took a dump. And it was just like content.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like chunk. It was splat. Like
steady stream of just gold-plated. I'm not saying it's all going to be poop. I'm just saying it was gold-plated.
Some of this is going to be poop, and I got thoughts on that, but I'm going to keep them to myself.
We're going to simmer.
I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm a gentleman. I'm a gentleman.
Exactly.
I'm not PSY over here. Just sorry. It's late. It's so late here. But yeah, let us know what you think. Share it to your friends. Like, subscribe, follow the whole shebang. And check out our upcoming podcast about Avatar and Legend of Korra, which is Spice. Our previous podcast, as Voices mentioned, is we got Star Wars, we got Marvel, we got DC, and more Star Wars. We got the whole shebang in Harry Potter. We go everything nerdy at this channel and channels, same diff. We got it here. But thank you for watching. Let us know what you think. I'm Captain Zeus. That's Voices.
I'm Voices.
He's many voices. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.
Adios.
お前は死んだよ。